Of course, we're back again. It's that off night thing we're doing. It's on Monday night. We're back. We're on time again. We got classes. I look Norwegian, but the key thing is this. We got people coming to see you. We're going to be hanging around. We got a lot of stuff talking. We got stuff. It's the night before Trump goes to jail. So we got stuff to talk about. But first off, I got a great book. It's called Laundry Love. Laundry Love. This thing will tell you everything you need to know about laundry. And it has the truth for you, so it's great. I gotta tell you, I never knew about vinegar and water. Well, other people did. But anyway, let's get off that subject. One thing we gotta do is bring on Mark Sweetman, who is your host. Please bring on Mark Sweetman.
Hey! All right, thank you, Andy. I'm staying with the green background because when I tried to put in a graphic for whatever reason, it was screwing up my face. I think my face is too shiny. I might have to start using makeup or something. As soon as I get a sponsor.
You'd rather go in deep Eastern or deep state support. That's what that looks like. So.
Yeah, really. Well, anyway, we haven't been together for 2 weeks. I was in Los Angeles last week, and it just happened to be the only day that my kids could get over to Universal Studios, and and the crowds had died down just enough. Their new Super Nintendo World section of Universal Studios had opened up a month before, and so even then, some of the attractions were a 3-hour wait in line. So we did what we always did everything else but that. And then when all the little kids went home, we went there when it was dark and did all that stuff. So that was fun. But that's why we didn't do a show last week. I could have done it by phone, but I would have been in line for the Transformers ride or something. I don't know what I was doing at the time. Anyway, did I miss anything? We got a lot of news to cover in the last 2 weeks, mostly about the Trump thing, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
There should be some good material on that. I want to talk a little bit about, I think I'm going to do another workshop for the dojo. I really like the way you were there last night, Andy.
Yeah.
The performers that we have, Wes and Lisa, and just all the people that were in that last workshop are really doing well. So I think we're doing the right thing.
Cool.
So anyway, but now it's time I'm going to bring Susan on here, and we're going to do the poem. I think she's got 3 poems because they've been backing up on us here. So
cool.
I'm going to put Susan on, and then we'll bring the other guys out here. But for now,
we're gonna start with this poem, and then we'll do last week's. I wrote a poem for you guys.
And then she's got a special one just for Trump. Yes, so she's got this week's poem, last week's poem, and then a special poem just for Trump.
Right, and so it'll be obvious when I read this first poem why I'm doing it first. Okay.
Hold on.
The music still on.
I know. Thank you. This was so much easier when I had a tech guy that did all this for me. Okay, here we go.
April is National Poetry Month. So write down your thoughts, your words, and grunts. Write what makes you sad or mad or glad. Write about a relationship you once had. Give it a shot. Give it a try. Write down some words. Go ahead. Question why. But if you struggle on just what to say, you can finish in October on National Poetry Day. It's National Poetry Month. So here we go. Last week's poem. In West Reading, Pennsylvania, 7 have died. A candy factory explosion, death by chocolate homicide. A Nashville shooting in a small private school. Assault rifles in this country are more than uncool. Gwyneth Paltrow and an eye doctor still arguing in court. Who ran into whom at the skiing resort? Raise a glass, make a toast. I'm here to say March 27th is International Whiskey Day. So you guys missed a show on Whiskey Day.
We missed a show on Whiskey Day.
I'm bringing the chocolate back, though. I'll tell you that.
That poem was specifically for March 27th. So that's why it's last week's poem. Okay.
Here's my favorite.
Here's the poem for tonight. There once was a President Trump. Grabbed pussy, then I'm starting over.
Go
There
ahead.
once was a president
Get me a
Trump.
pussy.
Grabbed pussy, then porn star he bumped. Then the day came, I say, his indictment. Hooray! Canada, see, now in a slump.
Oh, there we go. A limerick. All right.
Wow.
All right.
So
That was,
3 poems, but not very long. So
That-
there you have it.
that was worth it just to hear my wife say grab pussy. That was
Shocked to find this. Oh my
all
God.
right. Let's bring out our boys, our regulars here. I don't think we have any special. Let me look at the panel. We
Let me
don't
stick
have
around
any.
and say hi.
Yeah, Sue will stick around and say hi. We don't have any special guests like we had a couple weeks ago. So
Hi, Andy.
it's a hi for Andy. All right, we'll bring Andy up here. Oh, let me get out of.
Yeah, Andy.
I know. Hold on. I got Jason too. Oh, and I can add.
Hi, Jason.
Hi, guys.
Hi, and there we go.
There's Sam.
And Sam.
Sam.
Hi,
Yeah,
Sam.
yeah, we got everyone here.
Hi,
Sam
Andy.
is closed. Yes.
Sam.
Oh, there we go.
Did you like my poems?
I loved your poems. And let me say, I'm a little suspicious when I hear a man say, I'd like to bring out my boys.
All in the theme of grab them by the pussy.
By the way, did you hear the line that Mars said about Marjorie Taylor Greene?
Yeah.
That she's coming to New York? And he goes, oh, are you? Well, see you next Tuesday.
I did see that. That was great. Somebody sent me a meme today. I wish it was more technical. I'd put it up on the screen, but it showed all the congressmen that were wearing school teacher or some kind of school pin for the kids that were being shot, and all the Republicans had lapel pins that were rifles. So
Get out. Get out.
Oh, no, yeah. So
Oh,
one side is paying homage to school children, and the other side is paying homage to the weapons that kill them. So
I'd like to see that picture. I need some verification on that.
I can't. I'm not here. My wife is doing our low tech version. Here's one that my wife.
Don't, guys. I'll go online. I'm pretty good about hunting stuff down and figuring it out, but. I mean, I'm the king of tasteless, but even I have an understanding of when there are.
This one, I'll read it to you, then show you it. It's just
Okay.
Melania having a glass of champagne or something. It says, when your husband gets indicted for cheating on you.
Hey, she's living the good life. There you go, Melania.
I heard she's wearing a jacket that says, I don't care.
There you go.
I don't.
Yeah, I remember that.
I saw with that screen behind Mark. I want to do a "Whose line is it anyway?" kind of thing where we.
Oh yeah.
Where we project
only.
those
No, I've tried to turn on my backdrop, and I just can't get it to it
just
filter it. I don't come out right
There's
on
a
it.
little bit of green in.
Is there green in my shirt again? This isn't
sort
green.
of, it's got a yellow green.
It's my face that flashes though, not the shirt. So I don't know.
Well, yeah, you are looking a little green.
I just get frustrated, you know.
Good to see you all.
I'm just glad I
Yeah.
started in comedy when you wrote your name down on a list.
Oh my God.
And if people
wonderful.
laughed, that meant you
Yeah.
succeeded.
Yeah,
It
I was
wasn't-
trying to explain that to someone last night. That back in the '80s, if you had 5 decent minutes, you were halfway to a sitcom. It might not have lasted forever, but at least you got a shot at it. So.
Well,
Yeah.
you could be paid while you were developing. Now you don't really get paid until you have a full act and it's well rehearsed.
Who was it? The one guy who got paid $1 million development, and he pretty much used it all on heroin. He's dead now. Oh, what's his name? Oh God, I'm getting old. The really kind of off the wall comedian that everyone loves. Oh shit. Oh well. What is that?
That's my wife getting ice out of the refrigerator.
He was a heroin addict and he got paid $1 million.
Yes. And he got paid, to do a development. He didn't do anything.
Was that
Mitch
Greg?
Hedberg?
Yeah, Hedberg. Yeah, that's him. Yeah. And he used so much heroin that they ended up having to excavate veins from one leg to put them in the other. And sadly,
38 years old.
Yes. And memory has it that he would come out and do a really good first set, and then the second set would not be so good because he'd go and hit in between sets. And yeah, because funny dude. I'll give him that.
He is still often I'll see his lines and his jokes referenced by people as an example of a jokesmith. He's still considered.
He understood irreverence. He knew how to do irreverent humor. I mean, I could never even get close to that sort of thing. You know, I mean, I'm more like the Anton LaVey than I am Mitch Hedberg. I mean, although I think maybe Anton wouldn't be too happy.
I heard he was so good. That Carlos Mencia wouldn't steal from him.
That's very funny. That's very funny.
Rogan called him out and all that, but it seems like Rogan paid a heavy price for it. And you know, but it did kind of slam the door on Mencia, because that was like one of those early YouTube moments, very early YouTube moments.
Yeah, from about 20 years ago now.
Yeah, I mean, like Rogan recovered. Obviously, Rogan's doing his thing.
What I heard was,
losing his name.
Somebody's a joke. If somebody takes jokes, it's relevant. Take 15 jokes.
Lost you, Sam.
Have to do that again. Yeah. If someone takes a joke, if coincidence, someone takes 2 jokes, someone.
There we go. Damn.
You know, I think what we're gonna have to do with Sam now is maybe I'll pre-record a segment with him and just play it during the show.
I think you know, from the way it sounds, I'm guessing that it's some sort of a network thing on his end. Like maybe the internet there isn't all that fast. I could be wrong.
He may not be even doing Wi-Fi. He may be doing it on his data plan.
Yeah.
Which
and
could
that's
definitely, and that could be a problem if you've got a lot of people, and he's in New York City, he's on the Lower East Side. You know, It could be a lot of people using the same tower at the same time. You know,
exactly, and that kind of sucks. No, I just, you know, in the whole thing about joke thieving and whatnot, I was listening to some retrospective on Led Zeppelin, who were famous for stealing a lot of stuff. And
well, the thing about their thieving is that it
was pretty obvious.
It is pretty obvious. Yeah,
it is pretty obvious. And
it's almost as if they sat around and going, "Hey, let's pull out those old 78s. Nobody listens to them anymore."
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
the thing about Mencia, though, Mencia was that he was arrogant about it.
Yeah, he was.
I mean, he was like, "Yeah, I'd steal. So what?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I've heard some of those interviews where it was that way, and it's just people don't appreciate that.
We always had Ollie Joe Prater back in the day, and there's another guy that I used.
Milton Berle was of course renowned for
Milton Berle. And we had a comic that used to come from.
No one cared.
Okay, I'm doing a show.
Says it died. About it.
Do you want this?
All the
No.
Okay, Paul.
Oh dear.
All right.
Still hear him, though.
I would also inquire as to how old Sam's phone is. And the reason why I say that is if the phones are older, with the batteries as they get older, there's a feedback loop where they begin to deliberately degrade performance. Apple was renowned for this, but Android has done the same thing. If it's an older phone and the battery is not
all right. You know what I'm going to do? You know what I'm going to do, Jason? I'm going to take Andy and I down, And then
Okay.
why don't you ask Sam that, because with only you and him on, we may be able to. So I'm going to take you, Andy. We're going down. We'll still be able to listen. And then I'll bring Sam back up.
Great. Sam.
I thought I was
Jason.
bringing him back up.
There you go. Hey, I don't know if you heard what Mark said. He wanted to take himself and Andy down, just kind of see what the performance is looking like.
Listen, those guys are hacks. We're the only two who deserve to be on this fucking show. Let's face it.
We've been carrying them for months. I mean, come on.
Jesus.
You know.
Yeah. What was that great joke from what was his name? The wonderful comic from Texas who passed away. He had liver cancer. Oh man.
God, that's
young guy. Died at 32 years old.
Oh, Bill Hicks.
Bill Hicks.
Great comedian.
He had this great joke. He said, Millie Vanilli. You know, Millie's been carrying Vanilli for years.
Hey, on your phone, Sam, is it an older phone?
It's a couple of years old, yeah.
That might be part of what's going on. Possibly, iPhones are renowned for this. If the battery hasn't been replaced,
this is not an iPhone.
Well, I know Android, it follows a similar pattern.
Okay, so go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yes, if the battery isn't quite up to snuff, it tends to slow the phone down. It sort of senses that the battery's not quite all there, and it makes the whole phone slower. It's something that they do to sort of build in obsolescence, because God forbid that our corporate overlords don't get every fucking dime that they possibly can.
Man, I haven't heard that expression in years. Planned obsolescence.
Yes, well, I think that was stamped on the back of my ass shortly after they slapped it. But it's a hillbilly thing.
You know,
what can I say?
Mad Magazine used to do these great song parodies, and there was one from the gaudy grill of Cadillac to the fins of Chevrolet. We will sell you Ford and Chrysler and make obsolescence pay. So to hell with Ford and Chrysler and the sports cars from afar. We won't stop till every family owns a brand new GM car.
There you go. Remember, ask
Now,
the man who
what's
has
frightening? That I remember that.
Well, that you can
That's
even
what's
remember
frightening.
anything about Mad Magazine, and God, with Dave Berg, who used to do some of the comics, and although
Meglin's daughter.
how about this? You have to remember this. I'm a man of a certain age as you are. What about the Playboy cartoons where you had the little old granny who was portrayed in perhaps not the most flattering way? Oh God, we're going back in time here.
Who had breasts that were hanging like a lynch mob victim.
Oh darn, you're cutting out again. Mark, there you go. Mark's, Andy's coming back.
Yeah, it's pretty clear that just taking us down wasn't helping us at all, because we might have to examine the thing that you were talking about. I don't know if he has an option besides his phone. I'm not sure he has a computer he could go to. Like Andy, look at Andy. Look at him. The picture looks good. Everything. Andy looks great. Yeah. He's got that.
Hi, boys.
He's got
Look, I've been looking into getting a computer too, because now I think it's time for me to start doing some videos and doing some editing. Not those kinds of videos. Stop it right there, both of you.
I didn't even think about it.
We knew what you were talking about. You got a new career,
Well, Vivian was talking about getting a mixtape. I so wanted to have an old VHS tape to hand to her with two fingers. It's like, here's my mixtape, Viv. Take a look at that.
Oh, very funny. Very funny.
Yeah, it would have worked out nice. Thank you, Mark, by the way, for putting me on first last night. It was a nice little kickstart. I've kind of been floundering around on stage lately, and it was I don't know what it is, but it just kind of worked. And thank you. I do appreciate it.
Well, I think I got to remember that line, because I loved it when I said, and this guy will clear out the kids. I thought that was a good primer to put you up there with.
Well, you know me, guys.
Sure.
If I
And you
go
know
up there
what?
and
I had some people there that came in and said they came to see me, and I was just emceeing. So that's when I asked Ned to introduce me after his set,
it was nice to see
and he
you
does
do
a great
that.
job of it. I did his room the other night. What's that? Anyway, I did his room the other night, and he gave me a great intro. Then I go, just give me one of those, suck up intros like he gave me the other night. So I think the intro is so much, that's part of the show as far as I'm concerned.
It would still be fun.
That was a good night. Here's my concern about that show.
Yeah.
The crowd stayed for the majority of it.
Yeah.
So, and we did 3 hours. We went from 7:30 to 10:30. And the crowd stayed, and we had people that hadn't been there before that stayed. That's a good sign. That means we're getting better at it, right? And all the comics did well. I thought we had a really good show. Here's the bad part about it.
What's that?
We've been getting anywhere. We've been getting some money put in to fill the picture. And anytime we go along like that, we never get it because people usually put it in as they're leaving.
Mm.
And for some reason, if we can end the show at like 9:30, or 9:30, we can usually get more cash in that picture. And we're still trying to we want to get a red carpet type backdrop, not just for the stage, but we could also put it off in that other room where we could have photos taken. And we want to have, like, if you've seen those, they have them behind coaches after football games, or I call them red carpet backdrops, but they have sponsors behind them. And we're going to have the Unclub and the dojo, the two logos we have put on there. But we want to. I don't want to spend any money. Tim doesn't want to spend any money, and so we're hoping to get it from collections.
Hoping to get it from the audience. Yeah.
And whenever we do a shorter show, we get better collections.
Well, what type of you say red backdrop? Are we just talking about getting a bolt of red?
And I think you know what it is? I think people to stay there longer, they drink more, so they don't have any money left.
Well, you've been fortunate. Your dojoers are doing really well. The dojoers that you've got in this particular crop have been really good. And they're coming along nicely. You can see it. The one girl, and you had her on the podcast, 2 weeks ago. I really like her material.
Oh yeah.
She's got great persona. It was nice.
No, and I say red.
Back.
When I say a red carpet backdrop.
No, it's happening to you.
I'm talking about.
No.
It's like a Twilight Zone episode. No.
Sam's looking great, but yeah, Mark says. So, Andy, Star Trek season 3, as bad as you think it was, or was it better?
I don't know. Dun, 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 dun.
Oh dear. Well, that's more the Star Wars bar scene.
Well, I was trying to be the captain on the ship, So,
oh, okay. Well, that's true.
Always, whenever they're shot at, they're all left, and they all go right.
Yeah, and then they all go right. And if I'm not mistaken, the stage was actually built so that they could pick it up and drop it now and then. They had it on.
It was made out of wood. I saw it. I saw it was over at the Henry Ford Museum. They actually had the set there.
Yeah,
and it was. It was like, and they had like an old something from a Navy ship for like the navigation thing.
Yeah. Well, when they were shooting, I believe it was Turnabout Intruder, which is the last one to air, and I think that was also the last one to be shot. Mm-hmm. As they were finishing a scene, if that was it, they were moving in to destroy that backdrop or that set. As they were shooting this. When I occasionally have the urge to see the series in chronological order, when I go through the third season, which is always a very bittersweet experience, to say the least, the one thing I can't do is leave it on Turnabout Intruder. I have to switch it up and do the one with Maria Hartley, who was probably banging Roddenberry. Because I think all the chicks had to bang Roddenberry.
More than likely. That was the thing. Yeah, he was dating her.
Well, she was hot.
At the same time, he was dating nurse.
Right.
Oh, Marion Hartley was. Oh man,
she was
red
hot.
hair and light skin. Yum yum.
Oh my God! I mean, hitting it again. Let's have a mind experiment. I think we've done this once before. Let's replace her in that role with Shelley Winters. It's not the same episode.
That's awfully nice of you to offer, but no.
Oh God! And Baxter. If we have her Nance in there in her Hazel outfit, it doesn't work. But Marriott Hartley in a two-piece with an exposed midriff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It makes that last episode worth watching. What's really fun though is if you watch Turnabout Intruder, the very last one, and you really see the depths of misogyny really sort of crystallized in a late 60s sort of way. Because what we say is if we give a woman power, she's insane to begin with. Then when you put her in Captain Kirk's body, she goes absolutely nuts, and not in a nymphomaniac sort of way, which would have been far too homoerotic for 1968. Although Paul Lynde did have his own TV show, but we'll sort that out later. You still see there were various times where the crazy lady in possession of Kirk's body is speaking to her henchman, and he's still talking about how much he loves her while looking into Jim Kirk's eyes. It
was very interesting approach. It's like because it talks about the soul. The soul was a soul.
Exactly, but it isn't long before Kirk is a sputtering, raging, murderer who's demanding that the conspirators, of course, being Nimoy playing, of course, Spock, DeForest Kelley, and Scotty, all demanding that they all be executed on the observation deck, and then the bodies interned at some planet they were going to be passing nearby.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And
I always like the episode of Mudd's Women.
Which again, another example of a perfect sort of Playboy bunny. Remember, this is when Hugh Hefner has his own late night TV show.
Yeah.
Again, we have the three women. And in literature and in history, we have many other plays and examples of using three women in that combination as sort of femme fatales. And to bring you in, I don't know that the three witches in Macbeth would necessarily be the best representation of that, but you get my drift.
Yes, of course. Yeah, it's always like the three is always better than it makes it more interesting than two. Sort of like,
well, you sort of get to explore the different facets of personality. It tries to redeem itself at the end by saying, no, it wasn't the Venus drug. Remember, it was the Venus drug that they would take to become beautiful. Strangely enough, when you took the Venus drug, not only did you get beautiful, but you had hair and makeup done at the same time too. Which, when you think about it, that's a plus.
Well, all of it, no, it's lighting.
Take that
everything is lighting,
It's and if I could get, magic hour lighting and a really good makeup, especially with the eyes, you got to do something with this.
You remember the Seinfeld episode where he was dating that girl, and every time you look back at her, she would change.
No, I
was like, she looked really sexy, and then he turns back, and also she's got this lighting on her. So it's like, she's
Well, I mean, I'm still Seinfeld. Not to digress too far, but you have to bring up the puffy shirt episode.
Oh yeah.
You can never get away from and the man hands.
The man hands, yes.
Yeah, that was another one where again ground was broken. Which again, staying on our theme of implicit misogyny in media. Yeah. When you think about it, that is an example of both the passive aggressive femme fatale, always putting the man in a position to lose. The woman with these slightly masculine characteristics becoming repellent.
Yes.
And played, of course, for humor. Yeah. Because instead of really sort of understanding that in the modern dynamic, these are elements that exist in society that should not be laughed at. Women are to be honored, not made fools of, and that it is expositive of the misandrist, male-dominated media that we've been immersed in our whole lives.
Monty Python always says you want to take down the top class.
Right.
It's always better to shoot at the top class and
right.
try to make the lower class feel worse. You know?
And this is where I, of course, make a tasteless joke about if all they would do would be to shut up and make me a sandwich, the world would run much smoother in this sort of, again, tasteless, heartless oof that everyone has become accustomed to seeing and hearing me.
Got it. Well, you know, I think actually talking to certain women, they say the same thing about us. So if you would just bring me a sandwich and shut up.
And shut up.
We have a much better world. You know?
Well, as you know, women fit into my world a little differently than yours, in that those are the people who come over, help me arrange my closet, and then we go shopping at a Carhartt store.
Got it.
But those are women. They love women too, a lot more than I do. They love women quite a lot, actually. Well, I don't think I need to dwell on that point any more than what we already have. We wouldn't want to taint this diatribe. So again, going back to the third season, and I really think because we don't spend the entire Spock seducing the Romulan commander. That was a good one. Finally, Spock releases the beast. We get to see the Vulcan in love, not just in the T'Pring, because let's face it, T'Pring, she's the ultimate sea blocker, isn't she?
Oh yeah. 7 years. 7 years.
The Kunat, she goes for the Cali Fee. He's there for the Kunat. She goes for the Cali Fee. Yeah. And Spock's not having it, dude.
It was a logical thing.
He was ready to fight to the death.
Yes.
I mean, it was supposed to be the extra.
It was supposed to be it's logical. If he won, he'd be arrested and she wouldn't have to deal with him.
Right.
If he loses, he gets her.
Right. It wasn't stun. And to be again, we have to say T'Pring, hottie, total hottie.
Yes. Yeah. I think we have Mark now.
If we'd had Sally Field cast in that role, if she'd come over, if she'd landed with her flying nun habit and attempted to do that role, not the same.
No,
it doesn't work.
No. Sally Field has a very strange face.
Yeah, it's true.
It's
and
of
course,
on certain levels, it's kind of strange on other levels, but
right.
So
and of course we have a further exposition of the way that Star Trek would steal from Shakespeare mercilessly in the L.A. was it the Eloi of Troyes? I can't remember, but I got
my book over here. I can go grab it quickly if you want me to.
Sure.
All right. I'll be right back.
We're gonna wait for Andy to come back, which means that I've now, much like Alexander Haig in the White House back in 1981, I'm in charge now. I've taken control. You're here.
You're out of order, friend. You're in the wrong order. You don't get control. But here's my book.
Okay. All right. There we go.
Poster books. So which one are you talking about?
I believe
for me, Miri was the best one.
Oh, that one breaks my heart.
But it was actually, this one was banned in England.
Why?
Miri. Because it was children out of control. And
who is that? Is that Kim Darby who's in that?
Yeah, she did a great job.
Yeah, she did. What's his name? Captain Kirk's real daughter is in that. She plays one of the little kids.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, but that one has a great deal of pathos in it. And you can also see it's one of the first episodes where they're really beginning to explore their characters. That they've gone out of the early phase where they're in the the pilot season, Man Trap, the first 2 or 3 episodes, and now they're really giving something to work with that isn't just space opera.
Oh yeah, well this is the one that was basically a ripoff of Enemy Below, which is like a sub thing. So this is the Balance of Terror.
Balance of Terror, which is again, great one.
Yeah, excellent.
And also that introduces us to Mark Leonard, who we would later see
exactly
as both a Klingon commander in the first movie and Spock's father.
Spock's father in the
Right.
second season. Yes, of course.
Yes, where he was nailing Reagan's first wife. But who didn't? I mean, well, then he married the blowjob queen. Not to be disrespectful to Nancy, but that was her nickname back in the day.
Nancy, which one was it?
Nancy Reagan was renowned for being the blowjob queen of Hollywood.
Wow.
Yes, which I look at her. I don't see that as a T-shirt she should be wearing, but there was a time. Who am I to judge?
So yeah, so that's what it's. Well, Dutch also posed nude.
Well,
in his classes.
Well, then there was what's his name?
I'm gonna pose nude, mother. Okay.
Then there was Chuck Connor, who made at least one, if not three, gay porn films, which Larry Flint later went on to dig up and expose to the world. By then, I think the Rifleman had retired. Yeah,
the Rifleman's gone. But also, it's interesting. He was such a massive athlete back then too. He was like a baseball.
Oh, who, Dutch or Chuck Connors?
No, Chuck Connors. He was.
Yes.
He was like.
Well, a man's man, like to hang around. It's like Chuck. We can't help but notice that you've been hanging around in the locker room with your robe open. Oh
yeah. Space Seed.
Yeah. Again, Ricardo Montalban, who when he reprised his role, swears that was not a silicon chest piece that they built for him, but that was in fact his real chest. Return of the Archons. Again, another.
That was a Space Seed. That was the one with Wrath of Khan there.
Yes, that was Ricardo Montalban.
Yes.
And in one of his better roles.
Oh, my favorite one that doesn't get played enough is This Side of Paradise.
Yes. Now that's the one where Spock gets the mushroom cum shot.
Oh,
and the spore, which explode all over him, a la a John Holmes film, and then becomes emotional.
Oh yeah.
And then of course they manage that, and of course that's where the Kirk uses some of the more intemperate language, referring to his mother as a computer and
City on the Edge Forever. There, again,
great movie. If I'm not mistaken, Jimmy Doohan plays the voice of the machine, the time machine.
Oh yeah, I think so. Yeah. What is the one where the hippies are in the? They're basically a representation of the hippies.
Yes, the one that everyone hates the most. Journey to Eden.
Okay, I'm gonna take a look, see if I can find it.
And that's the one that has what's his name? He looks like a Jerry Reed lookalike. It's not Jerry Reed, but it looks a lot like Jerry Reed.
Got it.
But that is also the one where Spock jams with the hippies.
Yeah, that's right.
Playing the
on his lair, yes.
Yes, and I did meet a nice young lady who was a PhD candidate at the music school here, and she was doing her PhD thesis on the music of Star Trek, the original series. Man. Oh, it was great. She I asked her if she had any info on Spock's theme being a bass guitar, electric bass guitar, and she apparently had managed to get a hold of the composer who did that, and said that he felt that he wanted a modern instrument, and that the bass guitar did a good job of that. Well, I'm hearing something.
Well, I don't know what this is. I think this might be the one. For the World is Hollow, and oh no, that's the one.
Now that was again one of those episodes that they did again, third season, and they were running out of money. This is where they used they basically rewrote an older script to save money. That they really cut back on. If you notice in the third season that it gets a lot cheesier. And it was Shatner who was really keeping that show on the air. Yeah. To get to the magic mark was 75 episodes.
Yeah, the Way to Eden.
Yeah, The Way to Eden. There you go. Horrifying episode. With hippies that have all the authenticity that you'd find on an episode of Adam 12 or the Mod Squad.
Or I would say even, that would be, the Mod Squad, or even
Dragnet.
Like, go this far, Batman.
Well, Dragnet had some of the best hippies.
I love Dragnet. Dragnet, when he did the drug one with a Blue Boy.
Yes, exactly.
That was a brilliant one. I'm Blue Boy. That was great.
Right. And again, Mr. Webb was renowned for his inexpensive production techniques.
Yes. Now I got this book.
In cars.
Community Coffee is getting coffee.
I thought it was a Gary Newman book. But,
no,
okay.
No. So, but it has a pretty good. So I can find it here. It's 211. So it breaks it down, like it talks about the art of comedy, and it's pretty cool. And let's see, the one I turned to, the art of comedy.
Well,
so they broke it down. They didn't have just scene after scene after scene, but they break it down,
right,
into different aspects of what the comics were saying. So,
well, story Dennis Hopper. I don't know if it's a true story, but I want it to be true. You're an actor, so I'm sure you understand, that he was a method actor and whatnot. He was on the set of, I believe it was East of Eden with James Dean.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and he was wondering how James Dean, he was watching him, he's trying, and he finally asked James Dean, how do he goes, listen, you have a scene. You need to smoke a cigarette in this scene. You don't hit the cigarette for the camera. You just smoke a cigarette.
Mm-hmm.
The point being is, I think that he felt that James Dean was trying to say, listen, you're overthinking this.
Mm-hmm.
Comedy is much the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Is there really? I mean, it's what are we doing when we're up there, Andy? I mean, we're doing some observations. Yeah. We're reinterpreting life, trying to expose various sort of inconsistencies. And hopefully a humorous sort of way. I mean,
I think we're just trying to make people laugh.
Yeah. But how do you get there? How do you do that?
It's like what did Woody Allen said? It's either easy or impossible.
He would know a thing or two about that, wouldn't he?
Yeah. So this is the section of Robert Klein. It has the opera pimp. So Jerry asked him, he asked him about. So there was a bit that made a lot of money. It's called the Opera Pimp. Said, yeah, making me money. Yeah, my wife was an opera singer. She was making money. She makes me some good money. She gives me some checks. She makes me feel good, like an opera pimp. Where's the money from the cozy of 10 tooties? You hiding out of me? I got 2 girls down doing an oratory in San Diego. I need this bullshit.
God. Sam has pointed out, man, how Klein sort of represents that bridge.
Yeah.
Between the Borscht Belt comedians, an update on what Shelley Berman was doing.
Every comic agrees. Every comic agrees with that, because people would point to Lenny Bruce as being a groundbreaker, and he was. Yep. And Mort Saul being a groundbreaker, and he was. But when you look at comics today, look at all the people that got up there last night. Mm-hmm. They're all doing that. Robert Klein is the guy next door just telling you a story.
Yeah.
Yes. He broke out of that. I'm a comic. I'm going to act like I'm going to do. I'm not. And because he was the first guy that didn't sing a song as part of his act. Even Lenny Bruce sang songs. You know what I mean? When he first started. Yeah. George Carlin was singing songs because that was, everybody thought, that's what a comic does.
It was almost required in some respects when you work in the Borscht Belt.
Sure.
Well, speaking of Carlin, he was a radio DJ.
Right.
Has anyone heard of what I've heard that he did it. I've never heard what he did on that. What was he one of those guys who was doing lots of sound effects and whatnot? Does anyone know?
No, they didn't do that. They didn't do that back then.
He was in the Air Force. He started doing radio.
It was pretty legit. Like? It was pretty dry and legit because he was doing it for the Air Force at first.
Yeah. Okay. I know that he was on Sullivan several times. And he was still a very straight-laced comedian.
Yeah, well, if you think about it,
Right,
the
to the
craziest
football.
when he was straight late. Well, first of all, he was with Jack Burns. You know, Burns and Shriver.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Avery Shriver took over for George Carlin when George Carlin went out on his own.
I
And
did not know that.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Jack Burns was left. Now, Jack Burns eventually got that gig with Fridays. He was way older than he was twice as old as everyone else on that show. Remember, Fridays was this ABC version of Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
Anyway, and Jack Burns got that show, and he was like twice as old as everybody else on that show.
I'd forgotten that he was on that show.
He was, yes.
Yeah, that's where the Seinfeld guy got started too.
Yeah, Larry David.
Larry David.
Yep.
Was he a performer or was he a writer?
Kramer was on it, wasn't he?
Yeah, Kramer.
Oh, Kramer was too. Both of them
Yeah.
were. Both
Yeah.
Larry David and Michael Richards were on that show. Yep.
And, again, we've discussed how Michael Richards managed to implode his career in one single night. Well,
yeah.
you know, Mark, look at it. I mean, that's a good example of what happens when you lose your cool on that stage. And now, who would have known before? Back in the day, no one would have cared. But he's just at the cutting edge of when that stuff gets recorded and put out on the internet.
Well, what's interesting is that, you know, when improv people try and do stand-up, I think that is, you know,
it sounds like one of those. It sounds like one of those.
Somebody on a stage, you could do all that stuff to somebody on stage because then it becomes like, oh, it's satire. But then it's like, you know, when you're yelling at somebody off the stage, expecting them to sort of do it, when you're alone up there, you're usually covered.
The way you say that, Andy, it sounds like Cliff Robertson should be introducing it. When improv players try to do stand-up.
When improv players try to do
this on Unsolved Mysteries.
Everything was fine until they tried to do stand-up.
Exactly.
It all went downhill.
Well, I would love to do an improv with Ned Rice. I think I could have a lot of fun with it. I don't know how Ned would feel about it. Ned's not an improv guy.
No. You should if you were ever at one of our dojos with him.
Right.
He is so strict on. He's like Carlin-esque as far as getting the lines down and having the right joke and the right punchline and the right timing and all that stuff. Carlin was like that. Carlin, as much as Carlin, everybody thinks freewheeling, you know, his mind goes nuts and everything. All that, he never did anything he hadn't rehearsed over.
Exactly. Well, I mean, stand-up itself is basically it's about the individual putting out its own poetry. And it's like when you're in improv, you gotta immediately accept what this other person is giving you. So you get this like I think it becomes generic after a while because you never actually get a full sort of individual viewpoint of the story, which is what stand-up's about. What improv is about is working with the audience and coming up with a whole series of acting stuff, you know, and it's about the juxtaposition that makes the humor work, you know.
Well, a lot of improv games started out as theater games. They did them in acting classes. That was sort of like, let's get this guy to open up. We can get him to open up by playing this game. Now it's not like he's working. It's like he's playing a game.
Yeah,
but
so
if you're strictly adhering to the script, either the one you wrote or the one someone wrote for you, if you're strictly adhering to that, what about spontaneity? And isn't spontaneity and being able to react to the crowd or to someone else for the crowd's benefit an important part?
Well, that's called ad libbing. So basically, you're in like what the defining the difference between like what let's say what's his name
it's in your head.
Jonathan Winters. Say Jonathan Winters.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So he would improvise off the audience, but he also improvised with stuff. And so when he went on stage, he really had nothing set up, but he had, as he was moving along with the storyline, what he got from the audience in some respect, he would work it through.
Right.
And the same thing with God, I have this cough. But the thing is that that's slightly different than working with somebody on stage. It's improvisation, but it's mostly ad lib. In terms of like you're working on it yourself, but you can control it, you know, with some aspect of control to it. And the thing is, like when you want to say and write it down and be specific about it,
but
the improv
people respond to spontaneity. People
I'm not saying
respond to the stuff that comes completely out of the clear blue. If it looks, I mean, now again, could there be a lot more rehearsal? There could be. We've certainly known of comedy duos. Mark just brought up Burns and Shriver.
Yep.
I mean, those guys. I mean, I remember seeing them on TV all over the place.
Andy, do you remember Malone and Nucci's, Andy?
Yes.
I loved those. I thought they were probably the best comedy duo I have ever seen. They never got the recognition they deserved.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it had to do with Hampton was DC's babysitter for the most part, because he was always the partier. But Hampton was almost like Teller from Penn and Teller, where he really didn't say that much. He was sort of like this. He was a straight man that didn't say anything,
right?
And he was just his whole response to DC was with the musical instruments and the facial expressions that he made, and I thought they were just brilliant. They were just way too funny.
Well, go back even further to Nichols and May. Now, some of that stuff looks a little dated now, but you put it in context of the time.
Yeah.
You know, I thought it was great stuff.
That was based on Spolin's techniques, and it was also part of the Compass Theater that they actually met at.
Yeah, Nichols and
worked that whole thing out. So they actually created those scenes, but they did it like Second City.
Yes.
Second City, basically, you do the improv to come up with the scenes, then you set the scenes, and that's what they were doing.
But as Mark pointed out earlier, they weren't coming off as we're the comedians. We're going to be Henny Youngman up here. We're going to be Buddy Hackett. You know, we're going to be throwing just a bunch of jokes at you. Instead, they were putting scenarios and whatnot. Yeah, and then using various techniques.
They were creating scenes, and they were creating like scenes, but the scenes would be juxtaposition and also relationship oriented. So it was different than what their usual stand up was. Yeah.
One of the things, as things came down to either improv or stand up, and I think a lot of it came to just common, was that season that Lorne Michaels for Saturday Night Live, who had always gone to Second City, either in Toronto or Chicago, and later the United Citizens Brigade, and just all these improv theaters, improv Olympics. He would get those. But remember that one season he hires Dana Carvey, Dennis Miller, Kevin Neलन, Rob Schneider, David Spade,
85, 86.
I mean, and what's her name? There were just
Sweeney.
I mean, of the whole cast, I mean, there was maybe one improv player in the whole group. Tim Kazurinsky, I think, was the only improv player in the whole group that was improv trained. They basically had to teach. Unfortunately, were improv people that had gone through all these games and theater game and these techniques for creating these skits,
right? And
so they were able to survive that way. But for the most part, it's hard to get a comic to do stand-up, and it's hard to get an improv player to do. I mean, it's hard to get a stand-up to do improv, and it's hard to get an improv player to do stand-up. It's just hard because what happens is the comic is used to going off on his own and getting the laugh where he feels it. Yeah, and that could throw off a whole scene. And where the improv player is waiting for the rest of his castmates to help out, and will not go for. And when they're trying to do stand-up, everything is waiting for somebody to do something. Now, there's some great improv techniques that comics use when they're working with the audience. But then a lot of people, they don't want. A lot of people, especially club owners, would say this. Not always. Club owners are different, depending on who you're working for. Yeah. Don't work the audience. They didn't come here to see you do improv. That's.
Tony Hayes ran into that. It's sort of like they come up to him and say, "We've already seen Nichols and May. What is your stuff? And he would always go off. He had solid stuff, but he'd always dance around in the middle, and then you have a solid ender. But he was always, he heard criticism along those lines. So I was like,
and that was Tony's discomfort. That he's uncomfortable with the material he brought up, and he always thought that the audience would help him make whatever he said better.
Oh yeah.
But
But they're like
thing is,
10
though,
minutes
again,
of waiting sometimes.
you know, and part of it's just because I've seen a fair amount of stand up where people are just saying the exact same thing over and over and over. Obviously, I'm looking at it from a different point of view because, you know, I'm trying to be one of those guys in many respects. But when you, it just looks canned at times. I mean, you can't, it loses something. It loses a little bit of life.
Yeah.
And it's funnier. It's funnier when it seems like it's a person, guy, girl, whatever. Mark, one of your dojoers, the one who's talking about having the haunted basement with the 8-year-old girl, goes, I see right through her. And then she does. I mean, obviously, yeah, the dark humor is going to appeal to me. But then she turns around and she's telling her son, don't you let her bully you around. You can use any weapon you want. That sounds really good. She gets the right intonations. That sounds like something a mom says to a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the funny part is she's saying it to a kid who's being, you know, talked into doing something by a ghost girl coming out of her basement.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an improbable scenario. One that's it creates tension because we're talking about a ghost. She's using the mom voice, but she can't. But it really works out well. It's a great bit. Yeah. It really is a great bit.
It's really been fun too because she proposed that in the workshop and then developed it in the subsequent dojos, and it's really great how that whole bit kind of developed. It was nice to watch.
Now, who is this?
Her name is Erica. Her name is Erica Thomas.
Oh, okay. All right, I remember.
You know, hey, here's a fun fact for you, and nobody watches this, so I guess I'm not talking out of school here. She's a councilwoman for the city of Novi. She's a Novi council person.
Really? Oh, nice.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah. So she's a politician too, but she does. You know, we never say that because she doesn't want that.
No,
known
you wouldn't want to put that out. But
as soon as you say somebody's a politician, here's Congressman. Yeah, here's Congressman.
Congressman so is up saying bad things about people on stage. You know?
Exactly.
But again, you get my drift. The bit is good.
But it's like
your voice is good.
As a stand-up person, you gotta make your material always look like it's fresh, no matter what. After the 1,000th time you've done it,
well,
you have to learn. Those are called acting techniques. There we go.
Well, we talked about that last night. You guys weren't at the dojo last night, but we were talking about that last night.
Yeah. Wow.
Whereas, Albert Brooks, I remember him saying that, he never did the same show twice. He sometimes he would do a great killer bit. He knew it was a killer bit. He'd never do it again. Now, Albert Brooks is kind of a special breed. Let's face facts. Guy comes from a genius family. He is a genius.
No.
And he can do whatever the hell he wants. He wants to do improv. He's great. He wants to be in Taxi Driver. He's great.
Mm-hmm.
He is. I mean, he plays the D-bag campaign manager, whatever. The guy who's hitting on Sybil Shepherd.
Yeah, he's a good actor too.
He wants to be in Lost in America. He's great. He wants to do stand-up on Carson. Yeah. He's amazing.
Mm-hmm. No problem with that.
But he doesn't adhere to the concept of he's going to do something really strict and right. Look at Christopher Guest and some of the movies that he's done over the years.
Yeah, they were improvisational guys. Yeah, I'm not arguing don't do it. I'm just saying, like, if you're going to do stand-up, you really have to, solidify your stuff. You got to make it look like it's actually, you've never done it before, even though you've done it 1,000 times.
Well, God knows it looks.
And I don't know if Mark says this, but the club owners want something that they can actually sell.
Well, that again, yeah, you do have to understand your environment. You got to dig that.
And that happened a lot with Tony too. Is that he would do the improv? He says, "I don't want to do the improv. I can't sell the improv."
No, I know
I gotta have something laid out.
It's true. You got to make money for other people before you can make money yourself. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, but I mean, I think What was he did the one of the things that Albert Brooks did was the coming up with the audition for the new national anthem.
Oh, yeah.
That was great.
Yeah.
I'm here in Florida. We're from Florida, and I'm here with the anthem.
What was great about Albert Brooks was
What?
Oh, here
Hey,
comes the
we can pick
music.
up, you know what? Albert Brooks is a good topic to bring any week, and we got 24 seconds left here. So I'm gonna take it out. We're gonna end this in minutes. Go off and watch the national championship basketball game tonight. I'll talk to Stan before next week and see if we can't tidy this up a little bit. I'm seriously thinking about pre-interviewing him and just putting him in as a clip or something. He can hold his own. Really. Every Monday night at 8 o'clock Eastern time.
Yeah.
And we'll see you again next week. So long, everybody.
All right. See ya.